Let's bring in here Phil Kearns, the Chief Executive of AV Jennings. The company for more than 90 years has been one of Australia's biggest home builders. Phil, we've just painted there the picture of rising immigration, a lack of building activity, building starts, and the prospect of lower interest rates. It's almost a recipe for another boom in housing. Is that the reality right now on the ground?
It's far from the reality on the ground now. I mean, inquiry levels are massively down, over 50% down across most of the builders. The sales levels are way down at the moment. But you're right, the recipe there is mid-term that mums and dads want to see interest rates flatten out. They want some certainty around what they can pay. And it's just too hard from the moment when you don't want to know what the numerator and the denominator are in the equation you're trying to put together when you budget, you're not going to buy a house. And that's one of the struggles they're going through now. OK, so there are struggles out there for people to buy houses, but then you've got this situation where rents are rising up by 25% over the past year, $50,000 to rent a house on average in Sydney right now. I mean, 35 to 45,000 in other capital cities. So there is also another part of the problem, because if you're in the rental space, you might start to look back at the housing market to buy because it just might be mathematically better to do that. Well, and there's a shortage of over 100 or nearly 100,000 homes in Australia right at this minute. So when you're going to go out and look for a home, where are you going to look? Production levels are way down. You know, we've seen builders going out of business, and so it's a really tough time. So, yeah, where do you spend your money? Do I give it to my landlord or do I put it into a mortgage? And when you don't know really what the equation's going to be on either side, it makes it pretty difficult. Power prices add to the issues around that as well. So mums and dads are in a tough spot. You know, like Clubber Lang belting Rocky in that movie. Mums and dads are just copping it and they're just waiting for it to flatten out and then Rocky will come back. OK, so Rocky comes back eventually, but the reality is there's a bit of pain to go through. And the pain we're seeing right now is the likes of Porter Davis, the big building company which goes broke and leaves 1,700 people potentially high and dry. That's, again, a risk for people. You do it kind of differently, but you've right now got 14,400 housing lots ready to go at some stage. So you're trying to build up for the demand that is down the track at some stage. Yeah, I mean, we've got a different model to those builders. They're contract builders where they build essentially what you want. We go out and we build the house first. Mums and dads come to us and we say, here's the keys, walk in, it's already and done. And that's the advantage to our model at the moment. So we can increase and decrease the speed of our activity and our production to what the level of demand is. When you've got contract builders out there that have set you as fixed price contract, it's going to cost you 200 grand to build a house, and the price of materials have gone up, labour's gone up massively, and you can't find labour. It's really difficult. The unemployment rate, as you know, is so low. All of a sudden, it's costing 250,000 to build that house, and you've just paid 200. The builder's lost 50 grand. Yeah. So when you do that over 1,700 homes, it's not a great story for your business. OK, so then, is this a government problem? Because everybody always turns to the government and says, it's a problem, you solve the problem. This is not an easy problem for anybody to solve. No, a really difficult problem. We know we want the migration rate to grow because we need the labour in the country. You bring the labour into the country, they don't have a house to live in. So the price of housing goes up because there's a shortage. So it's in this cycle at the moment. But once that certainty hits in, the RBA hopefully keeps those rates flat, then people will have the certainty that they can budget, they know what house they can afford, and they can go out and buy it. That gives the builders the certainty that they can go and build a house and know that there's going to be a customer there at the end. One answer from government appears to be this so-called build to rent. You can see some of the biggest developers, the Meritons, the Stocklands of this world, are really starting to get into that space. And also there's an encouragement to get superannuation funds to invest more money into that area to provide a bigger stock of housing. Is that the answer? I think, potentially it's a small part of the answer. I don't think it's the answer. As we've talked about, rents are sky high as it is. So do you want to go into a build to rent when you can be putting that rent into a mortgage? So again, that cycle goes over. You've got to have a big balance sheet to be doing that. And there aren't the returns in build to the rent at the moment that the super funds want. Super funds have got to return a level for their customers, for their members. And if it's not reaching that return level, then they're not going to invest.
Okay, so we've already on this program today talked about tax reform. And one of those areas of tax reform that Labor has previously looked towards is reducing the benefits of negative gearing. But right now, it would seem to me at least that reducing negative gearing benefits would actually make this situation worse and not better.
Yeah, would make the situation much worse at the moment. We need people investing in their housing, into new houses, and that negative gearing benefit is important to them. What's also really important to us, which can change the outcome here, is that we get better planning methods, and a lot of that's down to the local council level, who knock back a lot of rezonings that builders and developers are trying to put through. So if we haven't got that adequate level of land, and I'm talking both apartments and broadacre development here, you can't build on it. So there needs to be a better planning approval methodology that we can put in place to be able to create what we need for this country.
Okay, so then finally part of this equation is you've got Labor state governments in all states now, bar Tasmania. You've got a Labor federal government. They and property developers have not necessarily been the best of bedfellows in the past. So when you say let's open up more broadacre areas, let's open up more development to infill urban areas, is that going to be as easily said as done?
No, because local councils make a lot of those decisions about zoning approvals. There's some great parts of every state where you work with the councils, where the council officers and the councillors are in sync with what their community needs, and they want to grow and they have ambition for their community. You get a great outcome. When you've got councils in that don't agree with the council officers and they have this NIMBY attitude, then that's when you get a bad result.
I'll tell you what, always good to chat to you. Phil Kearns, great for your time. Thank you so much for your time on the program today. Chief Executive of AV Jennings.
Thanks, Ross.